top stories tonight in Y News. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. instructs government agencies to boost spending of programs related to social protection.
Finance Secretary Benjamin Jokno assures that the country's debt remains manageable and reasonable.
The Philippine National Police Internal Affairs Service seeks to file cases against the Chief of Police of Navotas in connection with a fatal mistaken identity shooting incident.
And the United States announces that they will send $200 million worth of new security aid to Ukraine.
Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Tuesday, the 15th of August, 2023. Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the Philippines and in other parts of the world. I am William Theo.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media channels. I am Harleen Delgado.
First in the news. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has instructed government agencies to boost spending of programs related to social protection with the end goal of preparing the Philippine workforce for the further opening of the economy and the expected influx of foreign investors.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. ordered the acceleration of catch-up budget utilization of the Department of Social Welfare and Development's Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program or 4Ps. During the sectoral meeting with President Marcos in Malacanang, 8 agencies including the DSWD and Labor Department discussed updates on their respective agencies' budget utilization and catch-up plans. DSWD Secretary Rex Gatchalian is confident they will able to catch up with their budget utilization for the rest of the year once the reassessment of the list of 4Ps beneficiaries is completed by the end of September.
Kung matatanda natin ang 4Ps is 4.4 million households ang kasama dyan. So imagine nyo, 1.4 ang nagkaroon ng aberya at ayaw naman madiliin ng departamento na bigla na lang natin magdidilis or sasabihin natin hindi natin sila re-revisitahin ulit. Kaya nga ang naging desisyon ng departamento ay mag-reassess. So ongoing yung reassessment ngayon at matatapos yan ng September para talagang masigurado natin na masala natin ng mabuti yung dapat kasama sa 4Ps program.
Upon the directive of the President, Secretary Gatchalian assured that upon completion of the reassessment, DSWD will swiftly initiate disbursement to the newly confirmed beneficiaries.
Ang takeaway ko sa meeting namin ng Pangulo, bagamat bibilisan ang paggamit ng pondo, kailangan rin balansehin namin na makarating dun sa tama niyang intensyon.
The DSWD received 151 billion pesos this year for its social protection programs, with the 4Ps program receiving the biggest chunk of its fund. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Commission on Elections, or COMELEC, is set to meet with its deputized arms during elections such as the Armed Forces of the Philippines, or AFP, on Tuesday next week. Dante Almento tells us why.
Commission on Elections, or COMELEC Chairman George Erwin Garcia said they will discuss security concerns over the 2023 Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan Elections, or BSKE, next week, August 22.
Pag-uusapan po natin ang sitwasyon ng ating bansa when it comes to peace and order. Ano mga lugar na medyo pinag-iisipan na natin ilagay sa COMELEC control o meron ba?
Officials from the Armed Forces of the Philippines, Philippine National Police and Philippine Coast Guard, which are deputized arms of the poll body, are expected to attend the Security Command Conference. They will also tackle the issue of some areas that may be put under COMELEC control or areas of concern due to threats during the election day.
Ano mga lugar ang dapat at medyo mainit dapat tinitingnan natin mabuti baka sakali malagay under serious concern o baka naman green yan, yung lugar na yan. Anong lugar ang pwede pag-isipan na baka pwede mapospone ang halalan?
Meanwhile, the Philippine National Police, or PNP leadership revealed they will be submitting recommendation to the COMELEC on the areas which can be considered as election hotspots. This would need approval by the COMELEC and bank before it becomes final.
For red, we have 27, but these figures were based from the past elections. And so these are just a ballpark figure that we are supposed to validate some more together with we have to get the approval of the COMELEC and bank.
With regards to this identification of areas of concern, ang unang tinitingnan natin dyan is based on intelligence report, but of course we do not rely only on the yung sa amin sa PNP, but this is a joint input with the Coast Guard and the NDAP, and of course with our COMELEC representatives.
Dante Amento, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Preliminary investigations into the case against police officers involved in the death of Gerald Jemboy Baltazar commenced today, August 15. He was the teenager who was allegedly shot and killed by the Navotas police on August 2nd. The victim's family wants to upgrade the previously filed case against the officers from reckless imprudence resulting in homicide to murder. The respondent police officers did not appear during the said hearing. Instead, their lawyer requested more time to respond to the complaint. Meanwhile, according to an individual named Tony alias Tony, Jemboy's friend and companion on the boat when the shooting occurred, he will not withdraw from the case as the main witness. He states that he seeks justice for his friend's death. According to Jemboy's relatives, many people witnessed the incident because the shooting occurred at noon. However, most of them are afraid to speak up and testify.
We wanted to file a murder case, but we will have to see after we gather or build up the case.
Yung nakatalo na po si Jimboy, sinasa tubig na po siya nun eh. Kasi habang ako po, pinagbabaril pa rin po. Habang nasa butas pa rin ako, pinagbabaril pa rin po ako. Tuloy. Si dito po ako, para sa kaibigan ko.
The Philippine National Police Internal Affairs Service, or IAS, will file cases against the Chief of Police of Navotas in connection with the death of Jemboy Baltazar on August 2. IAS Inspector General Attorney Alfigar Triambulo says the Chief of Police lied and falsified a public document on the operation. Leia Ilagan will tell us why. Exclusive.
The Philippine National Police Internal Affairs Service confirmed that 19 policemen were involved in the police operation in Navotas that resulted to the death of 17-year-old Jemboy Baltazar. This is apart from the earlier reported that only 6 policemen were involved.
But lately, na-discover namin na 19 pala itong mga police na involved sa operation. Pero ang natuklasan namin kasi ay may sa mga in-interview sa patuloy na investigation na ginagawa namin at natuklasan namin na itong COP, yun po yung sinabi niya, tinago po niya yung 19 at yung 6 lang daw po ang pwedeng kakasuhan.
Attorney Triambulo said the Navotas Chief of Police will be held liable due to the lapses of his personnel.
Kaya ngayon may ang aming investigasyon ay naghanda na rin ng complaint sa COP at doon po sa 19, no? Sa kasong doon sa hepe ng substation saka yung COP ng nabutas ng dishonesty, serious neglect of duty sapagkat ay dapat aksyonan po niya yung mga kamalian ng ginagawa sa kanyang mga tawan bagkos ito po itinatakpan niya at siya po nagsinungaling sa official document.
The IAS Inspector General also confirms that they formally filed administrative case against the 8 policemen of Navotas.
Yan nga ay na-file namin sapagkat ay overwhelming po yung ebidensya na kuha ng aming mga investigador. So ngayon binibigyan sila part ng kanilang due process na magsumiti ng kanilang answer, no, dito sa mga kasong administratibo na hinain ng IAS.
Attorney Triambulo said they are now in the summary dismissal proceedings and will finish the process within 20 days. Leia Ilagan, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
And for the news abroad, Ukraine will receive new security aid worth 200 million US dollars that will be shipped from the United States stocks in a matter of weeks to continue to fend off Russia's invasion. Annie Mancero will give us the details live. Good evening, Annie.
Good evening, Kathy. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken announces on Monday, August 15, that the United States will send $200 million worth of new security aid to Ukraine that will include air defense munitions, artillery rounds, additional mine-clearing equipment, and anti-armor capabilities. Washington will begin to dispense funds worth of $6.2 billion after a Pentagon miscalculation that overvalued billions of dollars of Ukraine aid in May. Last May, Pentagon announced a mistake of higher than warranted value to the U.S. weaponry shipped to Kyiv when staff used replacement value instead of depreciated value when tallying the worth of ammunition, missiles, and other equipment sent to Ukraine. This accounting error works as benefit to Kyiv because more equipment can be sent. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky thanked the United States in his evening address.
До речі, дякую сьогодні Сполученим Штатам за новий пакет снаряди для патріотів, для хаймерсів, артилерія, джавеліни і інше. Дуже потрібні речі. Не буде скоро ще більше нашої роботи з партнерами заради оборони.
Commencement of utilizing the funds holds significance as they constitute the last of the previous congregationally authorized $25.5 billion worth of Presidential Drawdown Authority or PDA. This authorized amount can be utilized by the administration to ship weapons from U.S. stocks in the event of emergency. Back to you, Kathy.
Thank you, Annie Manzelia, reporting live from Singapore. A notable escalation of COVID-19 cases and subsequent hospitalizations is making its presence felt on a global scale, spanning the regions of North America, Europe, and Asia. The EG5 or Aries coronavirus, a distinct subvariant of the Omicron lineage that first emerged in November 2021, is being said to be one of its main causes. The subvariant has been designated as variant of interest by the World Health Organization or WHO beforehand. This classification underscores the WHO's inclination to closely monitor EG5 due to its distinct genetic mutations that could potentially amplify its transmissibility for severity. WHO has been cautious in its assessment of EG5's threat level as there is no conclusive evidence pointing towards EG5 being a more formidable public health risk compared to other variants. The EG5 has so far been identified in over 50 countries as of August 8, as reported by the WHO. However, the United States is bearing the brunt of its prevalence, with its EG5 accounting for its substantial portion, which is around 17% of the nation's ongoing COVID-19 cases. An increase of over 40% in hospitalization rate has also been noted since June, accompanied with a noticeable elevation in key indicators over the past month. These include heightened virus levels detected in wastewater and a marked uptick in prescriptions for COVID treatment Paxlovid. Meanwhile, prominent pharmaceutical companies Pfizer, Moderna, and Novavax are actively tailoring their vaccine strategies to address their evolving landscape. Dr. Mandy Cohen, director of the CDC, anticipates the updated vaccines XBB.1.5 will be widely accessible in the US by the 3rd or 4th week of September. We'll share more global stories with you later, but for now, back to you, Harleen.
Thank you, Kathy. For those watching our live streaming on YouTube, please click the subscribe button you see on your screen and ring the bell for notification. You may also follow us on Facebook. With the upcoming opening of classes for school year 2023 to 2024, the Department of Education, or DepEd, announced that education sector is still in learning recovery mode. Bernadette Dinoy will tell us why.
The Department of Education, or DepEd, announced that education sector in the country is still in learning recovery mode after 3 years of pandemic and the effect of recent calamities.
Since we are still on the learning recovery mode, opening of another school year is very critical.
After the launching of Oplan Balik Eskwela today, DepEd Undersecretary Rebsi Escobedo said they continuously coordinate with other partner agencies and stakeholders for the implementation of the program. The agency also projects more than 28 million enrollees in 47,000 public schools. Meanwhile, the Department of Health, or DOH, and Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical and Astronomical Services Administration, or PAGASA, advised the public to keep safe for the expect rains during the implementation.
Hindi po natin na inaalis yung posibilidad hindi lamang po sa COVID-19 but also those diseases na pwedeng mahawa, especially during the rainy season. So alam naman po natin ang umpisa ng ating eskwela ay nataon sa rainy season.
Usually, the second half of every year, andyan po yung malalakas na bagyo kumpara with the first half. First half maybe hanggang tropical depression or tropical storm. But the second half, pwede tayong umabot ng typhoon hanggang sa super typhoon category.
Bernadette Tinoy, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Senators grilled the economic managers about the ballooning debt of the country as the Senate begins tackling the proposed national budget for next year. Arlene Delgado details why.
The Development Budget Coordination Committee, or DBCC, held a briefing with the Senate Committee on Finance on the proposed 2024 National Expenditure Program, or NEP, of the government. Their lawmakers questioned the economic managers on the ballooning debt of the country. Senate Minority Leader Aquilino Coco Pimentel pointed out that the national government will pay 1.9 trillion pesos of debt next year, of which over 650 billion pesos will be lodged for interest payments. National Treasurer Rosalia de Leon argues that the debt-to-GDP ratio remains manageable, noting that additional loans are necessary to fund the national budget. She adds the outstanding national debt is projected to hit 15.8 trillion pesos by the end of 2024. Pimentel claims that this would translate to 141,000 pesos of debt burden for every Filipino.
How come Filipinos should not worry about their ballooning debt, na ballooning na rin yung principal and debt payments, and yet ballooning pa rin si total amount to be paid?
Sir, kasi po, di ba, deficit pa po tayo. So, meaning to say, we have to continue to borrow to finance our budget. So, ngayon po, di ba, sa 2023, ang projected deficit po natin is 1.5 trillion. Sa 2024 po, ang naka-program is 1.356 trillion. So, ito po yung inuutang natin na additional incremental debt to be able to finance our budget. Yung pong ating debt profile, meaning to say po, ano ba yung structure ng ating debt? So we will say na it is very resilient.
Meanwhile, Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa asks the economic managers the effects of escalating debt to ordinary Filipinos. Finance Secretary Benjamin Jokna says most of the loans are for infrastructure investments, which in return would also benefit Filipinos.
Meron nagsasabi na mahirap na, mas maganda siguro kung mas manganak tayo ng maraming anak. Kasi para lumaki yung population natin, at pag lumaki yung population, mas marami maghahati-hati sa utang. At sabi nila, kawawa pala tayo, hindi pa pinanganak yung apo ko, may ganito ng utang. Tama sir na sabihin natin, sa mga Pilipino na nanonood ngayon na pagdating sa national debt natin, don't panic. Walang problema, kaya-kaya natin ito.
Hindi naman po nakakatakot yung 60% of our GDP ay reasonable po yan, manageable. And if you look at the composition of the budget, is talagang pro-poor po yan. Kung ikaw mahirap, hindi po naman napakalaki yung binabayad yung buwis eh. But you get a lot of benefit, free education, free healthcare, social protection measures. Ganun po yun. Kasi the way to look at the impact of the budget on any individual is magkano bang binabayad kong buwis at magkano ang benefit ko sa budget na ito.
But Senate Deputy Minority Leader Risa Hontiveros believes economic managers should be realistic with its targets, stressing that the national budget should address the ongoing crisis in the country.
Madali po sigurong sabihin, wag tayong mag-alala sa utang, pero tulad ni Sen Coco, nag-alala po ako. And sa totoo lang, hindi po tayo dapat mag-over-promise kung nag-under-deliver pa. Kung pakikinggan po natin yung iba't ibang sectors, nasa krisis po sila. Hindi pa sila nakikinabang talaga sa kompletong libreng healthcare.
Harleen Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Defense Secretary Gilberto Teodoro Jr. believes that the establishment of the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, or EDCA sites, greatly assists in safeguarding the country's territory. Therefore, according to the Secretary, construction at the EDCA sites should be accelerated. Alan Manansala explains why.
Throughout the day of Defense Secretary Gilberto Teodoro Jr.'s visit, he reiterated the need to expedite the establishment of Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, or EDCA sites in the country. Earlier today, August 15, he once again emphasized to the media the importance of placing EDCA sites in various parts of the country.
These Philippine bases with EDCA facilities are for us purely for our internal credible deterrent, posture. And not only here, we have to develop Philippine bases throughout the perimeters of the archipelago in order to secure our territory, not only now, but for the future.
This is also the reason why the Secretary is currently conducting inspections of the ongoing construction at each facility within the EDCA sites. Although Secretary Teodoro mentioned that the construction of EDCA sites is unrelated to the ongoing bullying by the Chinese Coast Guard of the Philippines maritime vessels in the West Philippine Sea, he stated that it could still help prevent a recurrence of what happened in the WPS.
Walang relation to eh. Ito, total Philippine defense ng ating 200 nautical mile exclusive economic zone para maiwasan natin ang nangyayari sa West Philippine Sea ngayon. Sa sino man gustong mag-threaten ng ating sovereign rights dito. Leksyon yan sa atin. Yung nangyayari sa West Philippine Sea, wag natin i-replicate dito, wag natin payagan na mangyari dito.
During this visit to Camp Melchor de la Cruz, the primary focus was on the Command and Control Fusion Center, logistic warehouse, and the upcoming training site. Following this, the Secretary of National Defense then proceeded to Port Magsaysay Military Reservation in Nueva Ecija, where he inspected the humanitarian and assistance disaster relief facility. Alan Manansala, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The Department of Health confirmed that they have already administered 69% of donated bivalent COVID-19 shots from the Lithuanian government. Gladys Tawabi will tell us why.
From the 390,000 donated bivalent COVID-19 vaccines from the Lithuanian government, the Department of Health has already administered 260,000, or 69% to the priority groups, including the senior citizens and healthcare workers. Health Undersecretary Eric Tayag said the country will be needing more bivalent vaccines, as adults with comorbidities are already eligible for the said vaccine.
Maliban dyan ay binigay na rin natin yung bakuna sa mga kababayan natin kung ito ay first or second booster nila. Sapagkat nung nag-umpisa tayo, binibigay lamang namin yon as third booster, 4 na buwan matapos yung second booster. Ngayon, pinayagan na ng aming kalihim na mga kababayan natin kung wala pa silang first or second booster, pwede pong magamit itong bivalent COVID-19 vaccine. So isang dahilan din yan kung bakit tumaas yung bilang ng nababakunahan.
Which is why the country's request an expectation of 1.5 to 2 million bivalent vaccines from the COVAX facility will be a big help in its ongoing vaccination program.
Sapagkat may napipinto po tayong tatanggapin na mga bakuna, mga donasyon din po ito. At nung una, na-report namin na kahit na tumanggap tayo ng 390,000, ay humigit kumulang 1.5 milyon ang nangangailangan nito. So malaki talaga yung kakulangan.
From just a third booster, bivalent vaccines can now be given as a first and second booster. Gladys Tawabi, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
And in other global news, patients suffering from multiple myeloma, a common blood type cancer that develops in the bone marrow, can spread throughout the body, now have another option to get therapy treatment. The United States Food and Drug Administration, or USFDA, has granted accelerated approval to Elrexifio, Pfizer's therapy, also known as elranatamab. It follows Johnson & Johnson Tecvayli, or teclistamab, as therapy for relapsed or refractory multiple myeloma. The decision was made on Monday, August 14, 2023, and is aimed at patients with hard-to-treat multiple myeloma. It is also directed to those who have received 4 or more prior lines or treatment, but the cancer has returned. Elrexifio belongs to a class of therapies known as bispecific antibodies, which by bringing together a cancer cell and an immune cell helps the immune system kill cancerous cells. It is administered under the skin, which can be used off the shelf and can be delivered on an ongoing basis by healthcare providers in hospitals and clinics. Mid-stage trial of the drug showed an average treatment duration of 8 months, and 58% of the patients showed no signs of cancer or a significant decrease in cancer cells. Pfizer expects the therapy to be available within weeks following the approval and are looking at more than $4 billion in potential peak revenue. And those are the reasons behind the news in other parts of the globe. I'm Kathy Navarro, live from Vietnam. Good evening.
The Department of Tourism urged to look into cost of domestic fares more expensive than international flights. JP Nunez will tell us why.
The Department of Tourism was one among the agencies who faced the panel of the House Committee on Appropriations earlier today, August 15, to discuss their 2024 proposed budget. During the budget deliberation, lawmakers raised their concerns over domestic travel fare, which is more expensive than some of the international flights. This to encourage Filipinos to take on vacation here in the country instead of going abroad.
Why is it that Filipino people are going out instead of patronizing domestic travels? It is because of our pricing. If you take the plane from Manila to Cebu, the average price is 5,000 pesos. If you take Manila to Hong Kong and other areas, it's roughly 6,000.
Congressman Wilter Palma also pointed out that hotel accommodations in Metro Manila even higher than getting accommodations in neighboring countries. The DOT stands firm that domestic flights during 2022 contributed to the overall income for tourism industry.
domestic tourism has contributed no less than 1.5 trillion to the Philippine economy, with no less than 102 million domestic trips having been taken by our fellow Filipinos in 2022 alone. In fact, it is domestic tourism that has buoyed the massive recovery of Philippine tourism in addition to our inbound international tourists.
However, Secretary Cristina Frasco said they are in coordination with the private airlines which are operating domestically to lower airfare. They are also in coordination with hotel management and resorts to lower the fees for accommodations. For 2024, DOT's budget has been cut to 20%. From 3.7 billion pesos allotted for 2023, it becomes 2.9 billion pesos for 2024, which will be utilized by the department to promote further the tourism industry in the country and regain the number of tourists from pre-pandemic level. JP Nunez, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
In the latest bar bulletin released by the Office of the 2023 Bar Exams Chairperson, Supreme Court Associate Justice Ramon Paul Hernando, it says there is no need for the antigen or RT-PCR test to be allowed to enter the testing centers and take the 2023 bar examinations next month. Examinees are also advised to have a complete COVID-19 vaccination. Those who will have COVID-19 symptoms during the exams are still allowed to take the exam in separate rooms. This year's bar examinations will be held on September 17, 20, and 24, 2023.
Humid weather will continuously be experienced in the country in the coming days, according to PAGASA. The agency noted that when the southwest monsoon is weak, the effects of El Niño would prevail. This will result in a higher heat index. PAGASA said that the temperature is unusual, being higher by 2 to 3 degrees Celsius compared to the normal temperature for this season. Yesterday, PAGASA recorded a heat index of 60 degrees Celsius in Casiguran, Aurora. PAGASA also mentioned that high humidity contributes to the high heat index, but it is also a sign of thunderstorms.
Pero kung ito magiging panandalian lamang dahil maya-maya uulan. So, hindi na, kumbaga, heat stroke is imminent during that time, pero kung maya-maya uulan na, so mawawala na yung matinding epekto na yung heat stroke is imminent.
Our Kasangbahay, as the world faces these trying times amid the various challenges and uncertainties, we are inviting everyone to join the global prayer for humanity.
Good day. I'm Brother Eli Soriano of the members of the Church of God International. I want to invite you to join us in a minute of prayer every day to pray for humanity and the whole world as we go through these perilous times. While safety measures like washing of hands and strengthening of our immune systems may help us through this horrible predicament, there is still no precaution or cure more powerful than God's mighty intervention. And we need His intervention now more than ever. It doesn't matter what religion you are in or what denomination you belong. This is an invitation for all the people around the world who cares for the future of their family, friends, loved ones, and humanity as a whole. Everybody is welcome to pray with us. For more details, you can check out the description box below. Thank you very much, and I hope to hear from you soon. May God bless you.
And before we close, we will leave you with a word, giving glory to God, from the book of Romans, chapter 2, verse 13. It says, For not the hearers of the law are just before God, but the doers of the law shall be justified. And those are the reasons behind the news, August 15, 2023. Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I am Harding Delgado.
And because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am William Theo. We serve the people. We give glory to God.